126, show number 126. We are here, and that's right. We have a special guest in today's studio here in the Four Corners Project studio in Beit Shemesh, Israel. We have with us one of the legendary studio singers / keyboard player in Jewish music. Joining us, Avromy Weisberger. Welcome to Lenny Solomon Live.
Lenny, that introduction was so unbelievable. I need to take you around with me a lot more.
It's true. It's true.
At least I know I'm a legend in two minds, yours and mine.
Yeah, but you are a legend. We together we did so much amazing music together. This is going to be one of the monumental interviews. We haven't even discussed what we're going to talk about. I've already said, "What are we talking about?" I said, "Just follow me. I will lead you through from topic to
like the
topic."
Haas concert?
No,
like the Haas concert? Just follow Lenny.
No. Oh, that was funny. But we're gonna
first
funny. Let's start in order. First thing is, do you realize that my first band, I got into my first band because you were in Israel learning in Israel for the year, and then Avi Feinberg called me up and said, "Do I want to play a Shabbaton for NCSY New York region," which was your gig?
That's partially correct.
Only partially?
Yeah, because I never spent a year in Israel learning.
So what? But you somehow I played a gig in Pelham Parkway, a Shabbaton in Pelham Parkway that you were not able to do. I thought you were in Israel.
I was not able to do it. No, I think I was away. I was not able to do it, and Avi called you.
Oh, so but
That's what happened.
So I have you to play.
We didn't know each other, so for all you knew, I was in Israel learning.
That's right. We did know each other. First thing is, we got to say hello to Judy Hertzfeld, our associate producer from Clifton, New Jersey, from Passaic. Judy is here, and Jordana is commenting. I don't know if you could see the screen. Do you see the comment screen?
No.
Oh, okay, well, I see it. So one of us sees it. It's okay. Ethan Bill's on. Ethan Bill says hello.
Ethan!
All right.
Man.
I just watched Ethan's new single. Ethan has a new single that he just released called Vulture. Really, really good. I'm in the middle of listening to it for the second time. Okay, so let's go back. So first thing is, I always tell the audience that there is this like generation of musicians, Jewish musicians, that came into the world together to get spiritual on us Litvox here. I'm of course a Galiciano, but we all came down together. You, me, Jordan Hirsch, Mark Infield, Tzvi Pill, Jonathan Rimberg, and on and on. Shmuel Ramras. These guys, we're all pretty much the same age, and we became full-time musicians. Very, very unusual.
Yeah, and we all knew each other, and we were all friendly. And we would all go after pizza together after gigs and yell at each other.
Shuby and Shmuel Wasserman. Wasserman, Oliver Shalom, right?
Right.
And Shuby, of course, Bobby Shubowitz. So the funny thing was though that I was a Queens boy, you were a Brooklyn boy. Now, we also had the same interest in that you were a Balkore, I was a Balkore. Shmuel Wasserman was a Balkore. We all had the laning, and so tell us a little bit about your upbringing in terms of how you got into music and stuff like that.
Well, it really was a mistake. I didn't want to get into music, and there was a choir, the New York School of Jewish Song, and they were looking for kids. And my sister, Babby, kind of pushed me to try out, and I got accepted. And that was that. So I was in the New York School of Jewish Song when I was 12 and 13, and then a crazy thing happened, but my voice changed. So that was that. That was the end of that. Then I wasn't involved in music until in Camp Aguda. And I was in Camp Aguda as a waiter. I was in Camp Aguda as a waiter with Bobby Shubowitz.
You were?
And, yeah. And they needed somebody to play Color War, and they rented a Farfisa organ. You remember those Farfisas?
I do. I love those Farfisa organs.
So they rented one, and they were asking around for someone to figure out some of the Color War songs, and I figured it out. And that's how I started playing.
It's so unbelievable because I was in camp with Svi Pill in Camp Dora Golding.
Yeah.
And we played. I played accordion. He played drums. That was the first time we played together. And then we joined later up with Kesher. And by the way, if I don't mention Gershon Veroba, I don't know how I could forget Gershon Veroba. So Gershon Veroba was also part of our
He was
chevra.
definitely going to come up at some point in this
Yes.
conversation.
Oh yeah. When we get to Hask, it'll come up for sure.
Hask,
So
NCSY.
all right. So there we are. NCSY. I played this Shabbaton because you couldn't play it. I thought it was because you were in Israel. Avi said to me, and that's how I joined the Shemesh Orchestra. I became part of the Shemesh Orchestra. I think you were the keyboard player of the Shemesh Orchestra.
Right. Do you know how Shemesh Orchestra got its name?
No, I don't.
So there was a song that it was called Ki Shemesh, from the New York School of Jewish song.
Right.
And there was a solo on that song, Ki Shemesh. And I was kind of the soloist. And I didn't think about it. I think Zalman Omlis said, why don't we call it Shemesh Orchestra? Remember Zalman Omlis? It could have been Avi.
He's a
Definitely
good friend.
wasn't me. It was either Avi or Zalman.
Right. Right.
I can't believe you remember
Zalman was my first band leader. As we're talking 1980, 81. Well, it was 81, 82. Because I don't think I was in a band before 81. I think that might have been 80. Might have been 80.
It may have been earlier. I hate to tell you. It could have been 79.
I was, it could be. It could be. Look, I was playing accordion. I was playing the Duavox, and then I switched to keyboard.
You switched to keyboard, and you sat on a regular chair.
Right.
You had your keyboard on a waiter stand.
Yeah.
So you looked like this when you were playing.
Right.
To this very day, when I'm sitting on a chair that's too low,
yeah,
I say it's the Lenny Solomon position.
It's very funny that you say that because what happens with all of us is when you get into the business, you have no idea what you're doing. And of course, I was no exception. So I would slouch, and then finally I learned that I stand. Every gig I stand because it projects energy. And now I stand every time I play. But
I've been standing 20 years.
When I used to sit, it was it was like that.
It was like that.
And then I had the once I had this Shabbaton with Nate, your brother-in-law, Rabbi Nate Siegel, and he's giving this big speech at Havdalah, and my amp blows a fuse and goes like this in the middle of his big speech, and he turns to me afterwards and he goes, I had him, Lenny. I had him, and you blew it. This is my first year. This was my first year. We didn't really know what we were doing, frankly. But I learned. I learned how to play gigs.
Right. You did
that way.
That's the only way to learn. You got to just get thrown into the fire and come home some nights where you just feel so small. That's the only way to learn.
Yeah, and it's also great. But also, me and you both have a very big background in Jewish music, growing up on Jewish music.
Right.
I got into non-Jewish music too, but first was Jewish music. It was Jep, Kol Salonika, Toronto Boys Choir. I wasn't really into Carlbach so much, and I wasn't into the Rabbi Sons. I was into more of the pop, the Ruach, that red cover, that red album with Vialu, Moshe, and Bahar Tzion. Remember that? So,
still a song.
Yeah, it's a fantastic song. Fantastic album, that whole album. But anyway, so from 81 to 88, I'm in NCSY playing gigs. And Schlock Rock, of course, starts. And now we get to really where me and you did the most work together, which is that you and I and Jonathan Rimberg and Mark Infield, and in the beginning it was Seth Stavsky, we sang backup on a lot of my albums. We were the vocalists for a lot of groups.
Right.
And I believe it was you who, put the group together. I mean, we were always would one of us would make the parts, but it was really either you or Jonathan Rimberg that would make the parts.
Right.
in the studio. For those that don't know, when you go into when you go and record an album, you have to put backup vocals. You have to put backup vocals, and the way you do it is you have a vocal group. And so myself, Avromy Weisberger, and Jonathan Rimberg and Mark Infield were the vocal group on all of the Schlock Rock albums, on over 15 albums that you guys did. Do you have any recollection of the Amuna album? I'm putting the cover now for the crowd to see. There we go.
Yes.
You remember that?
I don't remember which songs are on that album.
So on that album is, let me just see, Esaenai, Yiru Eza Hashem Gidoshav, right? The first 5 songs are English, and the second 5 songs are Hebrew. Kos Yeshuos Esa Uv'Shem Hashem Ekra. Right? I remember us doing that.
Kos Yeshuos Esa Uv'Shem Hashem Ekra.
Right.
That was the harmony part.
That was the harmony. Yes. Right. So that was done at a place on the Lower East Side on Allen Street. It was called 90. Remember what it was called? The name of the studio?
I don't remember what it was called, but I think we did those recordings at 2:00 in the morning. Is that correct?
We have done albums. Yes. Yes. It was called East Side Sound. I got the insert right in front of me.
Right.
It was called East Side Sound, and it was on Allen Street, and then right where Schmulk's, right, not far from Schmulka Bernstein's.
Not far from Schmulka Bernstein's. I remember when we were done with the session, I was wondering if my car was still going to be there.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't think about that at that time.
No, you had other things on your mind. You were making the album. I just wanted to get home.
That's right. So that was by the way, that year was 1988. And then from there, the next album you did with me was one of our favorites, Shirei Boker.
Oh, Shirei Boker was great.
Songs of the Morning. And that you actually had 2 solos. You had Modani Lefanecha, right? Mm-hmm. And what else did you do? I think
there was another one I did.
Torah Tziva Lanu Moshe Morasha Kehilas Yaakov.
My kids know that entire album.
It's a great album.
It's a great album.
And I remember when I got that inspiration to do that album, to do all of Korbanot, all from the beginning of Modani until Davar Halamed Min Yano. And
Gary Wallen sang.
Which Gary Wallen sang. Right. Yeah. And we did it in this studio, Mick Cantarella's studio, which at that time I think was a Park Slope.
Right.
And that was also a little bit of a suspect type of a neighborhood, right? I mean, it was not.
I think that neighborhood was much better. He had you had to walk through a house, and then a garden, and then he got the back area there, and he had frying pans hanging from his ceiling. I remember that.
All right, so Detroit is piping up and saying, you once stayed at my house on Shabbat when you came to Detroit. I'm not sure they're talking to me or you.
I'm not sure. Now I see it.
So Robert Friedman wants to know if I'm from Montreal. No, so Robert, you're probably just tuning in. I wear a different hockey jersey every single night. Tonight is Montreal Canadiens night because they're in the Stanley Cup. On Monday night, I wore a Tampa Bay Lightning because they're playing each other. Avromy, I know you're up on all of the hockey world.
Oh, yeah.
But let's just see.
As long as the Giants beat the Patriots, I'm a happy man.
On Avi's from Phoenix. He wants to know me. Hey, Avi. Well, first thing is it's good to see you. And I'm sure I did stay at your house when I came to Detroit. One of the things about Detroit is that it's one of the 250 cities I've been to. And you also have done a lot of traveling.
Back in the day.
Now it's not so much, right?
No.
And not because it's because of Corona. It's because of Corona.
No, actually, there hasn't been that much traveling. They used to fly us all over the country to play weddings.
Yeah.
And now, Baruch Hashem, there's musicians all over the place. So they don't have to necessarily fly in New York musicians. So there's not that much traveling that I do anymore. We used to go out to L.A. L.A. has plenty of musicians out there now. But we used to fly out to L.A. to play.
Yes. Yeah.
It was a different time.
I didn't play wedding. You went to the wedding business, and I went into the Jewish
went to
rock and roll business.
Right.
Now, we released the Shirei Boker album in December of '89, and me being one of those Meshuggahs, I put out another album January of '90, which you sang on, which was Lenny and the Schlockers.
We recorded that at Ethan
Steve
Bill's
Bill.
studio.
Right. That we started recording at Steve Bill's house. It was a very nice album. It was different. It was more like a schlock rock album than an original album, even though it was all original songs. I'm just trying to remember what we did that would be memorable. Obviously, there were a lot of Am Yisrael Chai. Oh, Am Yisrael Chai. You sang on that with me. And then after that, we go to Sergeant Schlocker's Magical History Tour, which you were on, which you sang with me, and the guys. Now we're in '91, and so I want to take a break from these albums and talk about the Hask shows, because the Hask shows were one of the things that we did together that was unbelievable. Don't you have unbelievable memories?
I do.
So I sang with you 3 years, 91, Hask 4, 92, Hask 5, and 94, Hask 7, which was the big extravaganza in Radio City.
Right.
Now, Hask 7 in Radio City had myself, you, Meir Abitan, and Avromy Weisberger.
Right.
Hask 5, which was in 92, has me, you, Gershon Veroba, and Seth Stavsky.
That's right. How do you remember this?
I think. And now 91, me, you, Jonathan Rimberg.
Right.
And who was the fourth? I think it was Seth Stavsky.
I think so.
So that was our three. And what was unbelievable for me is that there I realized the power of Mordechai Ben David on stage. Because I had never understood, I never really saw a guy he had such power when he sang. Did you remember that, or?
I do. I also remember how nervous he was beforehand. But then when he got on the stage, he was in another planet. He was in a different zone. He was on the stage, he was doing his thing. And there's no question, you were watching someone who had a message to give over, he had something to say, and he said it.
Right.
He was always nervous beforehand, though.
He was terribly nervous.
Right.
He was terribly nervous beforehand. And then we had some interesting memories. We rehearsed, of course, without him.
We rehearsed, but unlike you, the three other guys, whichever the combination it was, we never had been on a stage without a keyboard in front of us or a guitar in our hands.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't know what to do. We were like, okay, well, what do we do on the stage? Like, we can't just stand there looking like idiots.
We could not.
And you said, well, move your hands this way, move your hands that way. So we said, well, we don't know what to do. We're just, whatever you do, that's what we're doing. It was just follow Lenny.
Right. I remember. Now I think that the coup de grace, the 1994 Hask 7, where we were actually the entire opening number. It was the four voices. So it was me, you, Avromy Weisberger, and Meir Abitan. Four voices, and we sang it 4 times, so there was 16 voices. And we were, lend us your imagination, let the spectacle begin, right?
Right.
We were that opening number.
Mm-hmm.
And why did we do it? We didn't really do it for the money. We weren't getting paid a lot of money.
No.
We never got paid a lot of money at these Hask things. We did it so that we could have our name in the program that we played at Radio City Musical.
Radio City Musical.
Now, do you remember that they left our names off the program? And we go and we say to them, we go and we say to them, guys, why do you think we did this? For $600? We each got $600. I remember.
That included all the rehearsals.
Yeah, well, that's the point. That included like 12 hours of rehearsal.
At least.
And and they said, we're sorry, we forgot. I'm not telling you names, so that you don't have to. We don't have to ask.
We don't have to get
Mahila.
into that, right?
But they were that was great experience. Those great experiences. Also in '91, something interesting
But
happened.
you're leaving out a very important date. I don't remember the date, but it was the night after Tisha B'Av, the greatest concert I was ever in, and it was in Israel.
I was about to go there. Yeah.
Oh, you are? Okay, because
Yeah,
to me,
very
that's
good.
this very day, it's one of the highlights of my music career.
Right. So tell the
Actually,
audience.
and Shmuel Wasserman and I just got a kick out of watching you in Israel, because wherever we went, people go, oh, is that Lenny Solomon? Lenny, do you remember when I held your mic stand? And we were like, our Shlumpy friend? Like, and you go, oh, and these are my friends. This is Avromy and this is Shmuel. And they're like, oh, hi, Lenny. So it was so funny.
Right.
And we said, let's put up a poster. With Shmuel's idea. Put up a poster in the old city, Schlock Rock concert the night after Tisha B'Av. And
at the Ramada Renaissance.
We didn't have a place yet. We didn't have a place yet.
We didn't have a place.
And put the phone number of the apartment you were staying at. You were saying it was some family. Shmuel and I were staying in a hotel because we got bumped from our flight and had money. But you were staying in somebody's apartment. And the next day we met you and you said, you got to take that poster down. The phone has to stop ringing. Do you remember that?
You know what? I don't remember that, but I remember how many people came to that show. Do you remember?
And then we met Alan Freistadt, who had only recently made Aliyah, and Alan hooked us up with instruments that we rented, and he got the place.
Right.
And you did a Schlock Rock concert, and we didn't rehearse or anything. We were just all winging it. It was
winged the whole thing.
Winged the whole thing, and I was watching you run around that stage, and I was like, "Gosh, I can't believe you do this," because I never got to see you. I only see you in the studio. Otherwise, you're playing there. I'm playing there.
I know. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we all play the same instrument. Myself and Avromy and Jonathan Lindberg and Brian Gelfand, who's going to be here next Wednesday night doing an interview too. We have like keyboard row. All of us are keyboard players. We never play at the same gigs. Usually we don't.
Right.
And so the end of that story is that do you know how many people came to the Ramada Renaissance show? 800 people just showed up.
Right. I remember that.
And Mikey Tevner is piping in. He goes, all playing DX7s. Yes, we were. We were all playing DX7s. And then, I when I started off, I watched Gershon Vroba, who had a Krumar orchestrator. So I got a Krumar orchestrator. And then after that, I got a Yamaha DX7 when he switched to a DX7.
I think Gershon was one of the first ones to get the DX7.
He was.
He actually had it hooked up his computer, and we couldn't believe he can actually see what's on the DX7 on his computer screen. That was another planet.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, so anyway, so that was definitely one of the highlights. Also, it was one of my highlights too.
Judy Hertzfeld is asking if Alan Freistadt is related to Gershon Freistadt.
Yes, he's his father.
His father.
Alan Freistadt's son is Gershon Freistadt, who plays the keyboard for Ohad. He's a keyboard player. He's a full-time musician. He went into the business.
Right.
He went into his father's. His father got out of the business and became a personal trainer.
Right.
Alan Freistadt's a personal trainer, and Gershon Freistadt. But so Judy, for just for you to know, and for the audience, Alan Freistadt was one of the founders of the Neshama Orchestra, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it, he was originally in Ruach and Neshama, from the Ruach and Neshama. So Ruach became Neshama, right? They I don't know if they broke off or I don't even know. I don't know how it worked.
I don't remember the politics, but whatever. There was a split.
Judy says Gershon plays with Mordechai Shapiro. Yes, but he played with Ohad before. He plays with a lot of bands. He's big in Israel. Plays a lot of gigs.
Right.
And he is the next generation, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we've talked about first thing is it's 27 minutes. No, we're 24 minutes. We've already been speaking. I haven't done any paperwork. So let me just do some paperwork. Remember, everybody, if you're watching from Facebook, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment. If you're watching from YouTube, either on the Schlockrock channel or the Four Corners channel, hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment. If you're watching on Twitter, at Lenny Solomon, retweet. And if you're watching on LinkedIn, we have a new, our 8th channel is LinkedIn. And we've been getting lots of hits on LinkedIn, people watching for the first time. Make sure you comment. Some of the comments have come in from LinkedIn already over here. And what else? Make sure you go to fourcornersproject.org, leave a donation, support the work, because we plan to do 120 shows a year. This is already our 2nd year, and we're in show 126. Show 126. And every night, a different hockey jersey.
Are there 120 teams?
No, there's 33. There's 31 teams, about to be 32, because there's a new team coming into the league. So there's going to be Seattle. So 32 teams.
That's why I'm wondering how you can wear a new jersey every night.
So they have 3 jerseys. Each team has 3 or 4 or 5 jerseys. So we have a little bit of an inventory, and Well,
it's good to see that you're updating your wardrobe.
Right. Because I'm really 22 years old still.
100%.
And we will always be 22 years old. All right. So, unbelievable. Okay. So, by the way, next week, you guys, Monday night, Jordan Hirsch, 3 p.m. Wednesday night, Brian Gelfand, 3 p.m. East Coast time, 10 p.m. Israel time. And Thursday night, Jonathan Rimberg, 3 p.m. East Coast time, 10 p.m. Israel time. And then tomorrow night, Avromy, big show, a cappella, myself. It's the 20th yurtzeit of my dad. So we're doing a yurtzeit show. We're going to do a little bit of an investigation into my father and sing some of the chazanas that he used to sing when I was growing up.
That should be interesting.
Schlockrock goes cantorial tomorrow night we'll do it at 11 p.m. Israel time, 4 p.m. New York time, Thursday night. Tomorrow night's going to be a great show. No keyboard playing tomorrow night, just singing. And then we're into all interviews next week for the 9 days, followed by our 130th show will be after Tisha B'Av, and then we're going to take a break for a month because I'm going on the road. Well, not to perform, but I think I'm going to be in England July 20th to the 27th, and then America from the 27th to August 16th.
Pizza, Shimon's.
All right, got to do it. Is Avi Feinberg going to be in America, or is he going to be in Israel?
We got to find out where Avi Feinberg is going to be. Wouldn't be the same.
Yep, it wouldn't be the same. We got it, but all right. So that's the scoop. All right, let's continue a little bit. Is there any? I'm going to ask you straight off the cuff. Is there any other musical experience on the studio stuff that we did? Because let me tell you what we did. We're coming back in 91. Bring Back That Shabbos Feeling in 93. Woodschlock in 95. Mikdash in 97. Oh,
that was a great album.
That was a great album.
Is that the one that was
Yes, track 3. Yes.
He sang that, right? No. Moshe Shapiro sang that.
Right. That was, you know what? That's such an underrated album. Mikimi, it's an A. Is that what an A? Is that A?
It's an A or an D?
Mikimi,
when I was singing it in A, go figure.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that was a great album. We did some great stuff on that album. Let me pull the insert. Let me just take a look at it. Oh yeah. No, maybe I think Makimi would be the song. Kela Hodos, Habocher B'Shirei Zimra, Habocher B'Shirei Zimra. It's just got a lot of energy to it. That was when I had made Aliyah, where I had just made Aliyah, and this was the first Hebrew album that I recorded after that.
But you recorded it here? I think you recorded some parts there.
No, I recorded it. I wrote one song in Israel, the 10th song. Aseh L'cha Rav Ukinei
Beautiful
lecha
song.
chaver. That I wrote in Israel. That was the 10th song, but we rehearsed it at Mike Roth's parents in West Orange. No, not West Orange, in Passaic,
In Passaic.
right? And then we recorded it at Mick Cantarella.
Brian Gelfand played piano on that.
Yes,
Right.
he did. So that was a great experience. Also, Schlock Rock Meets the Prophets. You were on.
Yeah.
That was we had so much stuff. I don't even know what to say first, but all I could say is, ladies and gentlemen, you have to go out and get these albums. We don't sell albums anymore, but you can get the downloads on schlockrock.com. You can get the downloads on schlockrock.com. And then, of course, Avromy, you are one of the voices in Daniel in Babylon, the original soundtrack.
Oh, right.
Noblemen, Grand Wizards. You played the Noblemen, you played the Grand Wizards. You got to do some talking and singing on that double CD. And finally, the last thing that I will mention is the NSN Super Bowl halftime show.
We were the first ones.
We were the first Super
the
Bowl
first
kosher
NSN
Super Bowl halftime show.
Kosher
Nachum
Super
Siegel
Bowl
Network
halftime.
kosher
Right.
Super Bowl halftime show.
Right.
Avromy's playing keyboard. I'm playing keyboard. Jonathan Rimberg is playing keyboard. Ari Boyanju's playing guitar, and Ethan Bill is on drums.
Which reminds me of Vladimir Grumberg. Remember him?
Yeah,
Volozhin
Sure.
said, 3 chords, all wrong. 3 keyboard players, 3 chords, all wrong.
those were the days.
Yeah.
All right, so let me
These days
ask
aren't
you.
so bad either, I gotta tell you.
What'd you say?
These days aren't so bad either.
No. First thing is Jewish music. I think the Jewish music that me and you grew up on and made is fantastic. I don't get so much into today's Jewish music. I don't want to put them down, but I don't. There are some songs that I like here and there,
Mm-hmm.
but I think our songs were better.
If you may say so yourself.
It's true.
It was a different time. I think the songs were written very differently. I think people wrote songs without thinking of the arrangement. They wrote songs so that people can actually sing them at a table around a campfire or something like that. Today, the arrangement is so integral to the success of the song. The songs are written for those sounds, and I think just the approach is very different. There are people that are writing music again today like that. Eitan Katz, Shlomo Katz, for example.
Right.
I don't want to leave anybody else. I'm not going to go any further, but there are guys who are doing it. But a lot of what's out there today is just written with an entirely different mindset.
Which
You
is
can't
very
sing those
similar.
songs-
Yeah.
Right. You can't sing those songs independent of the music track.
Which is very similar to today's non-Jewish music, which is
Right.
they took away all the music and left drums and vocal, and you really can't sing it.
Right.
You can't sing it. It's unsingable.
Not the same.
Which also there's a lot of cursing in that which we don't have, at least. That we don't have here.
I don't even know what's out there because if I'm not listening to Mudgets or
Right.
other important Jewish music, I'm kind of listening to country, so I don't really know what else is out there.
So tell the audience what you're doing right now musically, and if they want to hear, do you have anything that you want to plug or promote?
Nothing to plug or promote. I just enjoy playing. I'm just happy to be playing. I can't believe that at our age I'm still busy, Baruch Hashem, and I'm grateful for that. But I'm doing a lot of work to stay on top of the game and to stay with the times. So like updating sounds, updating approaches. Today, you're expected to walk onto the bandstand bringing iPads for everybody. So the entire way that we call songs today is also very different. It's not, we used to look at the crowd and decide right then and there what we were going to call. And everybody knew all of the songs without any music in front of them. everybody always played by ear. Nobody had a sheet of music in front of them. It was a rare occasion that a new song was being introduced, and we had to learn it, and then someone would hand out the music. But today, everybody's expected to have music, very often arrangements. So it's really a very different approach. But if you want to stay with the game, you have to learn how to do that. So I've adapted, I should say.
Right.
I've adopted new techniques I've adapted and adopted. I did both. See that?
You did.
And I know, because George Hirsch is going to be listening. He's going to say, well, actually, you used the wrong word there, and it should have been. So anyway, but it's just a very, very different business than the business that I entered 35 years ago.
Yeah.
Back then, you had to know the songs in your head, and on the fly, guys would call songs, and you just went with it, and that was it. Today, it's really a whole different ballgame. So the sounds are different. The approach is different. Sound systems today. Remember, we used to have like 2 tops, and that was it.
Yeah, that's it.
My first board had 6 input channels,
yeah,
and no effects.
And today, you can't do that.
You need compression. You need gates. It's unbelievable.
And that's very, very funny because also we used to play 2 speakers and an 8-channel powered mixer or a 6-channel powered mixer. That's what we would have.
That was it.
You didn't even have monitors. You didn't even have monitors.
We put the speakers behind the band.
Right.
That's how we heard ourselves. And you couldn't be too loud, otherwise you get feedback from the microphones. So it was everything was different.
So the last thing that I want to just tell you is that that I forgot to tell the audience is that we, as the backup singer or the backup vocal group, we played on a lot of other people's albums. For instance, we played on Shabbos with Shlomo, which was Shlomo Carlebach's Shabbos album, which had on it Nigun Krakow.
Right, that was the introduction of that Nigun.
The introduction, right? Mm-hmm. And then we also played on it, Yishama B'Yarei Yehuda Uvechutz Yerushalayim, right? We were the guys, and we played on a lot of people, and that's because of you, because you somehow knew all the people in the industry. We did Nagina Orchestra's albums. We did
a few Nagina albums, right? We did one for Kedem Wine. Were you on that? I think that was just me and Jonathan Remberg, actually.
I don't remember. I might have been at one session.
Yeah, you probably were.
Not all the sessions, but one of the sessions maybe.
Our final session for that album was on a Friday morning at 9 a.m. And the night before, I played in Montreal with Shmuel Wasserman. So Thursday night, we finished playing in Montreal at about, I don't know, we were in the car probably about 1 o'clock in the morning. And I was saying, Shmuel, we got to get back. We got to have a session at 9 o'clock. And we drove through the night. And I went straight to the session.
Right, because what is it, 6 hours to Montreal or 7 hours?
Yeah, except that we were falling asleep, so we had to keep pulling over and catch cat naps.
I did that
in the rest area on the thruway, and that's where we davened Shachris when the sun
I
came
did
up.
that when I drove all night from New York to Richmond, Virginia. I had a show at 10 in the morning. I left New York at around 11 because I had a gig, and I left New York at 11, and then I just drove. I was by myself, and I kept having to pull over, go to sleep for 30 minutes to 45 minutes, got my energy, and then got back on the road. And I pulled up to the JCC at around 8 a.m. in Richmond, Virginia. And believe it or not, that was the first of 2 gigs. I had a gig in Richmond, then I had a gig in Newport News, Virginia. So I had another hour and a half of driving. But luckily, I was able to sneak into the JCC and shower because I'm not a member. They weren't. But I snuck in, I showered, and then I did a show at 10 a.m.
Yeah, that's what we did. I mean, you know what? I'll bet we can still do things like that.
Well, we could if we had, yeah. You know, the truth is that the reason that we're doing this Lenny Solomon Live thing is because I have had a total of 5 live gigs in the last 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, concerts, there's really no concerts. So there are weddings, but I've only played out of those 5 gigs. One of them was a wedding. I played a wedding, but other than that, I did a Hanukkah party, a Purim party, a wedding, a Yom Yerushalayim event, and then I just did an evening of Billy Joel in Ashkelon. Those are my 5 things since February 2020.
Right.
But luckily, we've done 126 Lenny Solomon lives. So at least I get to do something.
Thank God. Thank God. And you get to talk and wear hockey jerseys.
Yeah, that's
What could
right.
be better?
And I don't have to leave my house. This is much better.
Much better.
All right, everybody, we're at the end of the time. We've already done 40 minutes. You know, it's unbelievable how you just like this and time goes. I want to thank Avromy Weisberger for coming on Lenny Solomon Live tomorrow night, the 20th yahrzeit of my father, Alexander Solomon. We're going to be doing a tribute to his music. And then next week, 3 interviews with big Jewish musicians that had an impact on Schlock Rock. Everybody out there, have a great day. Avromy, thank you for coming.
It was great. Had a good time.
Yeah, me too. And we will see you tomorrow night, 11 p.m. Israel time, 4 p.m. East Coast, and all the other time zones. Do that calculation. All right. Keep on schlocking, and see you tomorrow.